You're listening to Scammer's Karma, where every lie eventually meets its payback. My name is Margaret. I'm 53 years old, and I used to believe that people were mostly good. I believed kindness was enough to protect you from the world. But that was before the year I lost everything. Before the year I met him. I wasn't looking for love. Not really. My husband, David, had passed away from a heart attack when I was 48. We'd been married almost 30 years. He was my best friend, my reason for waking up every morning. When he died, my world fell silent. The house felt too big, the bed too cold, and my phone too quiet. Grief is a strange thing. It doesn't just make you sad, it makes you lonely, even when you're surrounded by people. My friends tried to keep me company, but when the nights grew long, I found myself scrolling through my phone, searching for something. That's when I met Tom. He messaged me one night on Facebook, said he was an engineer working overseas, said he'd lost his wife too a few years back. His words felt gentle, familiar, like he understood pain the way I did. At first, we just talked about little things, how he liked old country music, how I loved to bake, how lonely it could get when the house felt empty. He never pushed, never flirted too much. He just listened. And that's what broke me. Someone finally listened again. Weeks turned into months. We talked every day. I woke up to his "Good morning, beautiful," and fell asleep to his "Good night, sweetheart." It felt like having a piece of my old life back. My heart started to heal, or at least I thought it was healing. Then one night he told me he was stuck overseas. A job issue, he said. His equipment had been damaged and he needed help replacing it. His company was holding his pay until he could fix the issue. He sounded embarrassed to even mention it. I remember that moment clearly. I hesitated, but then he said, "I don't need much, Margaret. I just need someone to believe in me." Those words, someone to believe in me. That's how he got me. I sent him $5,000. That was my savings, the little I had left after David's hospital bills. Tom thanked me like I'd saved his life, said he'd pay me back within 2 weeks, but 2 weeks passed, then 3, then 6. Every time I asked, he had a reason. Customs issues, bank errors, sickness, anything that sounded just believable enough. And every time, he'd promise it was the last time. By the time I realized something was wrong, I'd sent nearly $30,000. My retirement fund. Gone. When I finally tried to call him, his number was disconnected. His Facebook profile disappeared. Just like that, he was gone. I remember sitting at my kitchen table that morning, staring at the empty coffee cup in front of me. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I didn't cry, not at first. I just felt hollow. The police said it happens all the time, that people like me are easy targets. Romance scams, they called it, but they didn't understand. He wasn't just a scammer. He was my last hope for feeling human again. The days after that felt endless. I stopped eating. I stopped talking to people. My sister begged me to move in with her, but I couldn't face anyone. I was too ashamed. I'd sit by the window, watching the sunset, wondering how someone could be so cruel, how they could look at a grieving woman and see nothing but an opportunity. Months passed, then years. Life moved on for everyone else, but I was still trapped in that moment, the moment I hit send. Sometimes I'd hear his voice in my dreams, that soft, kind tone saying, "Just a little longer, sweetheart. Everything will be fine." But it never was. One night, about 3 years later, I couldn't sleep. I was scrolling through my phone, the same way I used to when I met him, and something caught my eye, a video, a man's voice, familiar. I clicked on it and my heart almost stopped. There he was, Tom. Different name, different profile, but the same face, the same voice. He was on a live stream, charming another woman with those same sweet lies. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I just stared, frozen. It was like watching a ghost come back to life. Then something inside me shifted. It wasn't grief anymore. It wasn't sadness. It was something sharper, something colder. I realized that night that I wasn't done. Not yet. He had taken everything from me. My money, my peace, my trust. But there was one thing he hadn't taken. Time. And I had plenty of that left. That's when I made a promise to myself. If it took me the rest of my life, I would find him. And when I did, he'd finally understand what it means to lose everything. 3 more years passed after that night I saw his face again. Every morning I woke up with one thought: find him. At first I didn't even know where to start. I wasn't young, and the internet felt like a maze built for younger, faster people. But grief can teach you persistence. I learned. I read. I joined groups of other victims, women and men who had lost everything to online lies. Some of them gave up. I didn't. Eventually, I found a post with his picture. Different name again, but the same smile. He was living in Florida now, running a consulting business. It was just another scam dressed in sunlight. I started writing to him under a new account, pretending to be someone else. I wanted to see if he would still use the same tricks. He did. Every word was a mirror of what he'd told me years ago. Good morning, beautiful. I just need someone to believe in me. Those lines that once felt like love now sounded like poison. For weeks I played the role, gathering everything: screenshots, messages, photos, proof. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the truth. When I had enough, I sent it all to a journalist who covered online fraud. She listened to my story, and 2 months later his name appeared in headlines. Romance scammer exposed. The article spread fast. Victims came forward. His fake company collapsed. And then, one quiet morning, I went to see him with my own eyes. He didn't recognize me at first. He was sitting outside a small cafe, phone in his hand, still charming someone new on the screen. When I said his name, his real name, he froze. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply said, "You remember me. I'm the woman who believed in you." Something in his face changed. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe fear. He tried to speak, but no sound came out. People around us began whispering. They had seen the news. He stood up and walked away quickly, leaving his phone behind on the table. That was the last time I ever saw him. Later that evening, I heard he'd been arrested on unrelated charges: tax fraud, identity theft. Karma had finally caught him, in its own quiet way. When I came home, I sat by my window again, the same window where I'd once waited for his messages. The sunset looked different this time. Not brighter, just lighter. Like the weight I'd carried for so long had finally lifted. I lost money, yes, but the real loss was my peace, my trust, my sense that the world was safe. Getting that back took years, and I'm still healing. But I learned something important. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a smile. To anyone listening to my story, please, learn from me. Don't believe every sweet word that shows up in your inbox. If someone you've never met asks for money, for secrets, or for trust you haven't built. Stop, breathe, and think. Scammers don't just steal your savings. They steal your heart first. If my story touched you, share it. And if you want to understand how these people work, so you can protect yourself and those you love, subscribe to Scammers Karma. Together, we can turn pain into awareness and make sure no one else falls the way I did.